What if we created, as we did, a colony where all the bees were the same age? So they have a queen, they have food, they have everything they need, but everybody is the same age. And there were thousands of them. So it wasn't like they were alone. In that case, nobody can learn from anybody else as they get older. So in that experimental colony, all of the young bees, and we would paint them and mark them on their backs with little colors so we could tell what bee they were. They had to progress, and when they became 9 to 10 days old, on average, they actually started the first waggle dance that they ever did in their life. With the control colonies, everything was the same, and in fact, they came from the same mother colony, so they had the same genetic family background. These control colonies, we also had marked bees. They also started their first dances when they were 9 to 10 days old, but there were bees of all ages there. So they could and did watch older, more experienced dancers before they themselves tried to dance. And that's the key. In the experimental colony, there was nobody there. There were no teachers. Imagine growing up in a world where there were no teachers to tell you anything. You'd have to learn it all by yourself. And as you might expect, if you didn't have those older and wiser teachers, you would end up making mistakes the first time you tried to do something. We found that the waggle dancers made 3 different kinds of mistakes. So the first time they waggle danced, they wouldn't communicate direction correctly. Imagine that you're pointing in different directions, let's say 3 o'clock in the clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. It would be hard to figure out what direction you're supposed to go to if you're telling the other bees all different kinds of directions. And that's called directional error. And they had significantly more directional error than the control bees who had access to learning from older and wiser teachers. The second error is called dance disorder. If you remember, I talked about that figure 8 pattern. Well, what if you don't do the pattern correctly? What if you do circles instead of a figure 8? That's what we call dance disorder. And it turns out that the bees that didn't have any teachers had significantly greater dance disorder. And the third error is distance communication. So let's say normally you might waggle for 1 second to communicate that food is 1 mile away. In the waggle dance, you might then waggle 2 seconds if food is 2 miles away. So the amount of time that you're waggling tells bees how far to go. Well, in our case, the experimental colony that had no teachers, they communicated distances that were too far away. They should have communicated distances that were 150 meters away, but it looked like they were actually telling bees to go nearly twice that distance. So those were all the errors that they had. They improved in their directional error. Now they were communicating the correct direction. They improved in their dance disorder. They now were performing the correct figure 8s. And again, this was on their own through practice, potentially from observing other bees trying to dance and doing it better. But they got better. One thing that they could never fix was communicating distance. They always communicated distances that were too far. So we think that this may be an attribute of their language, that they learn the correct distance encoding at a very young age, but then that is somehow locked inside their brains and it can't be changed, even though they practice and practice. I think that there are so many resources right now where you can look online, you can read, you can watch videos to learn about different aspects of animal behavior, communication, or even bees that can interest you. Also, if you're specifically interested in bees, there are lots of local beekeeping clubs and associations, and I'm sure they would be happy to have you join and learn about safely working with bees and about different kinds of pollinators. Uh, Other than that, I think it's really good to find an interest and also to explore different things. Before I got into bees, I actually tried a whole bunch of different things. I was studying history at one point. I was interested in philosophy. I was going to do physics. I was even thinking about molecular biology. But I think what really grabbed my attention was when I started working with bees, I could actually see them, design experiments for them, really work with my hands and my mind in a way that I couldn't with some of the other things that I was doing. And I felt that this was the right path for me.